Those statistics you saw, that's who I was. My name is Lawrence Marshall, and I'm from Oklahoma City. And because a mentor was involved in my life, I am no longer a part of those statistics. I have grown from those circumstances to become a better person today. The environment I grew up in was not the best, but I made certain choices based on having a mentor in my life. I made better choices that helped keep me alive today. 37 years ago, I had a relationship with someone who helped bring me into this world. During that short time that I had with my father, we would watch football games, live football games outside of his window. We would sit around the floor and play little cars and little army figures. And at that moment, I didn't have a care in the world because I knew my father and my mother existed in my life. But then when my mother and my father divorced, there was a huge void, which is still with me today. Shortly after I moved to Oklahoma City, my mom and I and my siblings, we would normally go to my grandmother's house. I know there was an incident. I was in the yard playing with the ball, and I accidentally let the ball bounce out into the street. All I can remember is looking to my left, and it was a red Mustang. It was as if he was purposely trying to hit me. He didn't veer off to the left nor the right, but he hit me head on. And I don't remember anything after that point, but I do remember my mother telling me that she saw the impact and that my body was tossed so far from the car and hit the ground and just tumbled. The driver just slammed on the gas and just sped off and kept on going. I was rushed to the hospital and I was pronounced dead once I got there, and the doctor said that if I did live, then I wouldn't live a normal childhood. But over a course of 2 years, inside and out of the hospital, 7 major operations, at 3 years old, I survived. And I don't remember my father ever coming to visit me in the hospital during that time, but I do remember my mother sitting to my right in that corner day and night with that lamp on reading her Bible. But I was wondering where my father was. It was one of the loneliest moments of my life to know that someone helped to bring me into this world was not there to check on whether his son was dead or alive. And I just remember during those times is when my mother and I developed an even closer bond. My mother was very, very religious person. We went to church regularly. I remember a lot of times her praying next to my bedside. And I do remember my mother telling me that I may never be the same again. I remember the doctor telling me as well that I'll have to continue to see him for the rest of my life, or that if I was able to play sports, it would be a no-contact sport. But that last visit I had with my doctor, speaking to my mother, he said, "Ms. Marshall, your son is completely recovered, 100%, and that he can begin to play sports if he'd like." To go from the world saying that you will never do this, and because of my relationship with Jesus Christ, get to the point to where he's recovered fully and he can go on to play football and basketball and run around and turn flips, it was like I was given a second chance. The neighborhood I grew up in started off very quiet. We were one of the first residents on our street, and it turned from being quiet to neighborly and the kids running around on the streets riding their bikes to a very gang-infested neighborhood. We had a drug house directly across the street from us, so a lot of transactions were being made right there out in the front. There was a lot of traffic. There was a friend of mine who came to my house. He would go walk around the neighborhood. Although it was very violent and it was unsafe, since we lived there, of course we were safe. We didn't have a whole lot to worry about. But I remember my friend Rodney coming by my house and picking me up and saying, "Hey, let's go walk. It's a nice day outside." And I remember him telling me, "Hey, I'll meet you around the corner. I'm gonna walk these young ladies down the street." And I went around the corner waiting for him, and he never showed up. I heard a lot of gunshots, which was typical. I remember being at school when an announcement came over the speaker saying that Rodney had been killed. I just didn't understand why, and I didn't know that that was going to be the last time I would see him. And it just got to the point to where that became a regular experience. I attended 30 to 40 funerals, and I would collect obituaries like rocks, and I would hold on to them. Now, majority of them happened in that neighborhood, and it was all gun violence. And it was just either being in the wrong place or the wrong time. When I was a kid, I drew a lot, a whole lot, and I would draw images that I either dreamt about or that just came across my mind, and I still have these drawings to this day. And I remember drawing my silhouette of myself standing on a mound. I was at war and standing in the smack dab middle of a battleground, and I drew bullets just flying by me, left and right. But God had his hands on me. It seems as if he put me around certain people, soldiers, if you will, to protect me. I didn't have a father to help me deal with that emotionally. I just couldn't grieve. I didn't know how. I couldn't show weakness. I couldn't cry because I didn't want the perpetrators or anybody in that environment I grew up to get any impression that, hey, this guy's weak. Let's attack him. When I was a teenager, I was involved with guys who were stealing cars for joyrides, selling drugs, just stealing clothes and selling them on the street and fighting. I fought from kindergarten all the way to high school. I got kicked out of every single school I enrolled in. I was a very angry kid, very angry, and I didn't think anybody could tell me anything. I barely graduated from high school. I never took my books home to study. You was considered a punk or a coward if you got caught with books. I don't know how I graduated on time, but I did. But I didn't have a whole lot of aspirations. Yeah, it was just aspiring to stay alive, basically to survive. I didn't have a positive male role model in my life like my father or brother who was going to church and who had a relationship with God and who was doing right in the community, who was treating his wife with respect. I didn't have that. My mom ended up kicking me out of the house for the 5th time, and I don't blame her. I was just a knucklehead, and so being rebellious and fighting and stealing, and so she just had enough. I was at a crossroads in my life. I was working at this dealership detailing cars, and I befriended this guy who was working there, who we ended up building this rapport, and he told me that his father was part of this organization. And so I'm curious to know what organization you're talking about. So he gave me the details, and it was not a legal organization, to say the least. And he basically looked at me and said, you look like you can handle yourself. I said, well, I do okay. I do all right. And he says, I got a proposition for you. So he was inviting me to be a part of his organization. So I had a week to think about it. And during that week, I was looking for this guy to say, hey, let's move forward. I'm ready. I need to make some money. I need a place to stay. I need to do something with my life. So let's make it happen. And the guy wasn't at work today. I found out that he no longer worked for the company. So I'm sitting here stressed out, this was an opportunity of a lifetime that just slipped through my fingers. I should have told him yes last week. There was a family friend named Michael Pollard I grew to know very well. He was a friend, not only a friend of the family, but he was a church member, a very successful musician, and he was the minister of music, and all the young guys idolized this guy. Beautiful family, successful, happily married. A lot of us didn't have that. And Michael took it upon himself to say, hey, I'll be his mentor. And not having nowhere to turn, I called Michael, and he picked up the phone immediately. And I'm just talking to him, just telling him, hey, Mike, this is what's going on. I've been kicked out the house. What do I do? So he's coaching me and mentoring me while I'm at work and saying, hey, you can come stay with us this weekend, but on Monday, you're going to college. So he said, that's the stipulations. If you come stay with me, then you're going to school. And lo and behold, on Monday morning, he drove me to Langston University, where I attended college. He stayed there the whole time to get enrolled, to ensure that proper paperwork was filled out. I moved what little I had into the dormitories, and he took me out into the parking lot after I got everything done, all those hours. Took me out into the parking lot, and I'll never ever forget this. Is he looked me in my eye and he says, "What you do from here on out is up to you." And because of God's favor and working through this guy, I graduated 4.5 years, accepted my first job at a school in Colorado, the same city, not just state, but the same city where my father lives. He offered, "Hey, why don't you come stay with me for the first 2 or 3 months till you get on your feet?" But during that time, I just took it upon myself to have conversations with my father, like, where were you? What happened? And what did you do? And why did you do this? So I made a decision at one time. I says, you know what? It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what my mom did. It doesn't matter your guys' relationship. All that matters is what happens from here on out. You guys ever think about that type of stuff when you're upset? I've been involved with mentoring and mentoring programs or mentoring kids even back in Colorado. And I saw a program and it exposed the youth to all these different variables in life to help get them out of the street. And so I'm trying to bring that element here, and that's where Integrity Mentors is coming from. Our job as mentors is to come along the family, the parent, to see what's best for the kids from both the male perspective and the female perspective. And that's what we try to do. And we make sure that the parents understand up front that we're not here to replace the father. We're not here to replace you. We're here to enhance what you're already doing, and to provide support and to let you know that you're not in this by yourself, to take some of the burden off your shoulders. This is a call to all organizations dealing with kids, whether religious, non-faith-based organizations, that we need to go back to the basics. What I received in the past, which is mentoring, truly mentoring kids today. For the young man that's out there who feels that he's alone, who feels that he doesn't have anybody to call, who feels that there's nowhere he can go, nobody understands what he's going through, there is somebody there. Out of the 5 who graduated out of our program, we have 4 that's either in college or going to college. We help them understand the importance of education. The school, all right? You can go back to school, all right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we get to the point to where we're either taking them to college tours and actually holding their hand step by step to ensure that they understand what that process is and that they're doing the necessary follow-up. We have a high success rate of kids going straight from high school, graduating from high school on time, and going straight into college, furthering their education. For more information about Integrity Mentors, you can go to www.integritymentor.org. Go to the donate page and you can contribute. You can give your tax-deductible donation there, or you can mail it at P.O. Box 543-534, Grand Prairie, Texas 75054. Also, like us on Facebook to find more parenting tips, find out what we're doing, different programs, workshops, and all the other activities that we have available for your kid in mind. Young men these days need up close and personal, real answers, real solutions. They need someone who's going to be consistent. We partner with other organizations that are out there to see professionally how we can best help this young man and get him the help that he needs.